And whereas it is further provided by subsection 2 of section 51 of the Constitution of Grenada that there shall be a session of Parliament once at least in every year, so that a period of 6 months shall not intervene between the last sitting of Parliament in one session and the first sitting in the next session. Now, therefore, I, Cecilia Grenada, Dame Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Officer of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, Governor General in and over Grenada, do hereby appoint the Parliament Building at Mount Weldale in the town of St. George as a place where the third session of the 11th Parliament shall be held at 10 o'clock in the forenoon on Friday, the 4th of October, 2024, as the time at which the said session shall begin. And members of the said Parliament and all other His Majesty's officers and loving subjects in Grenada, and all others whom it may concern, are hereby required to take due notice hereof and give their ready obedience accordingly. Given under my hand and the public seal of Grenada, this 24th day of September 2024, in the second year of the reign of His Majesty King Charles III. God save the King.
Almighty God, members of both these houses of Parliament, that they may wisely deliberate for the good of this country and for the glory of thy holy name.
Please join me in saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Pray, be seated.
Members of both houses of Parliament,
Oath and affirmation of a new senator.
I, Dwight Horsford, do swear that I will bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, his heirs and successors according to law. So help me God.
So, Mr. Simon, what we're actually witnessing at this moment is the taking of the oath by the opposition senators. First up, we saw Senator Dwight Horsford, and we await the other senator.
Yes. And actually, this is the second time, Mariana Charles.
Yeah.
Dr. Mariana Charles.
Dr. Mariana Charles. They would have received the instruments from Her Excellency, and now they're actually taking the oath of.
to announce the sad passing of Sir Danny Williams, KC, King's Counsel, former Governor General of Grenada.
Honorable members, Against this backdrop, the passing of the late Sadani, former GG, both houses of Parliament would have a special sitting in honor of the late Sadani Williams.
Honorable members, is it your wish that the houses do now adjourn during pleasure to await the arrival of Her Excellency the Governor General? If so, please say aye.
The sergeants at arms will lower mace as the House stands adjourned. We are expecting a minute's silence. That was our conversations earlier. But the House has, in their own deliberate judgment, taken one step further.
They have a special sitting, and I guess during that sitting is when they reflect on his contributions and so. Yes. But just to remind the viewers what happened a short while ago, we saw the proclamation being read, and it was read by the Clerk of Parliament, and you had the prayers and so. And as you mentioned, they're now in recess as they await the arrival of Her Excellency Dame Cecile Grenada. We do know that there were two senators appointed.
Yes.
Well, we've seen one taking the oaths thus far, that is Senator Dwight Horsford.
Yes.
So I think up next should be Dr. Mayana Charles. So we are waiting to see whether she's present here this morning to take that oath. If not, whenever the Senate meets
again,
and she makes her first appearance, then she will take the oath there. But it is the day, as we mentioned, for the throne speech. We started off and we were very happy, beautiful weather, nice sunshine. But now that as we look through the glass, we can see that the good Lord has blessed us. We're seeing rain on the outside. We don't know, just going to say we don't know how it will affect what's happening there. But it's a normal routine, and the officers, they're there and they're waiting for Her Excellency's arrival. I guess it all comes with the call of duty.
That's right. And the other thing is that at the end of the day, it's still a beautiful day.
That's right.
The rain is as a part of our beauty as the sun is. So it's definitely having an impact on our agricultural sector. It's having an impact on people working in outside of cover or air condition. And therefore, productivity will obviously be an issue, because when people come to work outside, the harshness of the sun, not everybody can deal with that.
And what this tells too is that for persons who may have had the doubt about whether or not climate change is real, I think what's happening now should shun that, because we're literally into what we call the hurricane season.
Yeah, this should be the rain season.
We expect a lot of rain, and we're getting more heat than actual rain. So I think that is basically what's happening. It's all the effects of climate change. We wish for some rain. Yes, we want some of the sunshine, but not too much of both.
Oh, either.
A proper blend would be just right for us.
I agree. But then the thing about where we are is that it provides us an opportunity to look to other avenues for doing the things that we do now differently. So the imposition of new technology or introduction of new technologies, because obviously Grenada is not the only one going through this.
That's right.
And therefore there are other people coping with it, so and dealing with it. So there's opportunities for us to get into greenhouses, for us to put technology in areas that we have not normally had technology introduced before. Mechanization of agricultural sector, for example, ensuring that protective gear is provided to people working outside, whether it's hats or whatever form that takes, so that we pay attention to the climatic conditions around us. That helps us to adjust to maintaining our resilience, and that was a word that the theme used earlier, to ensure that we can continue our prosperity, and we can continue to make a contribution to life as we know it, but under different conditions.
That's right. So we are still awaiting the arrival of Her Excellency. I think maybe I can just draw back a bit in terms of what are some of our expectations, and maybe we can make mention and speak a little bit to what has happened with the passage of Beryl. And with the passage of Beryl, we've seen substantial payout to Grenada through the CRIF, that's the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility, a total of 44 million. And then the help that came to Grenada, and I am expecting mention to be made, though, in terms of the regional support that we got. We say Grenada as a state, but we can zero into Carriacou. We saw what was done there with the Guyana Defense Force. We saw help coming to the sister from Domelec. We had from St. Lucia. We also had from Barbados. So there are a number of regional entities, and that is why we always say it is important to have public-private partnership or private-public partnership, and this is a great example of saying, because even if you have a good network between governments, you still have private sector with their part and stepping in as well. And just as I glance here, we can see on the screen that Her Excellency is actually on the compound. It's raining a bit heavy, but we can see the umbrellas are out. And as we say, the show has to go on.
It has to go on, whatever happens. But just as I prepare for that, and that is right, I was quite impressed by the fact that out of Tobago, once Hurricane Beryl had passed, the fishermen just simply got in their boats, bought stuff, put it in their boats, and headed to Grenada, in this case to Carriacou. So but there are risks in that, of course.
Serious
but
risks.
It was very important to see how that humanitarian side of people kicked in, and this is not just Grenada, but wider than Grenada.
And I was viewing as well, they had an official function in Trinidad, and they literally recognized them for that particular effort.
Yes.
So it seems to be raining heavily, but we do await. She's out, and she is escorted by the protocol officer. Has to be very careful with her steps.
So the Governor General will take the royal salute.
General now. She is now being escorted into the presiding officer's room and by the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And she's expected to sign the Distinguished Visitors Book once she is there. So that takes care of what has been happening on the outside. And now they're going to start, and then after that they will have the procession, which will be led by Her Excellency and followed by, the Governor General's aide and so forth. So we're just about a few minutes away from hearing what are government's plans going forward when she delivers this speech.
Yes, and I think we could also get a chance to actually see inside the chamber again to look at how the strangers area.
That's right.
Is filled in by various members of the public who've come in, or various persons who work at the government ministries and departments,
permanent secretaries and so
etc. Who can come in to be part of today's exercise, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who will have to execute the elements or to build on the elements of today's presentation.
Still thinking of ways to win bigger in NLA games? Well, think no more. The NLA has boosted your chances of winning bigger by adding Multi-X to Daily Pick 3. Yes, folks, now you can add Multi-X, the winnings multiplier, to Daily Pick 3 and Playway for more chances of winning bigger. For a limited time only, the 7X multiplier continues to be added to Multi-X. Picture adding Multi-X to your Daily Pick 3 $10 inline bet for chances to win $38,500 instead of $5,500, and your Playway $10 bet for chances to win $1,680 instead of $240. Increase your winnings by Multi-X times more. Play smart, add Multi-X, and win bigger. Must be 18 years and older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Good morning, viewers and listeners. This is the National Lotteries Authority's Daily Pick 3 with Multi-X Mid-Morning Draw. It is Friday, October 4th, 2024. I'm your draw hostess, Leslie Ann Johnson. Supervising the draw this morning is Ms. Dion Francis. She's representing RSO and Company Limited, accountants and advisors. To give you a quick reminder, as usual, there are 4 different bet types in this game from which you can choose. They're called inline, mix, pair, back up. It pays to play Daily Pick 3, so let's see if you are a lucky winner this morning. Good luck to you. Tickets are first number 6, second number 5, final number 9. So let's recap. The first number is 6, followed by 5. The final number is 9. All right, so let's go for now to our Multi-X draw. Good luck to you. So our Multi-X ball for this morning is free play. Congratulations to our 33 winners. From last evening's draw, the total payout was $5,570. The Playway draw is up next. We'll see you soon. Hello once again, this is the National Lotteries Authority's Playway with Multi-X Mid-Morning Draw for today, Friday, October 4th, 2024. I'm your draw hostess, Leslie Ann Johnson. With me once again is Ms. Dion Francis. She is representing RSO and Company Limited, accountants and advisors. In this game, you can bet from $1 up to $10, or you can bet in increments on any number or dream symbol of your choice, and being with a chance to win 24 times the amount you bet. $24 for every $1 spent. Value your dreams and win your way with Playway. Let's see if you are this morning's lucky winner. Good luck to you. Once again, our Playway number is 23 and the dream symbol is rat. So we go for now to our Multi-X draw. Good luck to you. Alright, so our Multi-X ball is free play, so we say congratulations to our 533 winners. From last evening's draw, the total payout was $35,688. Stay with us, the Daily Cash 4 is up next. We'll see you soon. Welcome back. This is the National Lotteries Authority's Daily Cash 4 Mid-Morning Draw. It is Friday, October 4th, 2024. I'm your draw hostess, Leslie Ann Johnson, and with me once again is Ms. Dion Francis. She's representing RSO and Company Limited, Accountants and Advisors. So in this game, you can choose any number from 0 to 9 in any of the 11 bet types offered. The tickets cost as little as $1. Backup, however, costs $2. More plays, bigger prizes. Let's play Daily Cash 4. Good luck to you. Alright, our first number this morning. 7, the second number. 8 is number 8, final number 6. Alright, so let's recap. The first number is 7, followed by 8. The next number is 8 as well, and the final number is 6. 7, 8, 8, and 6. Congratulations if you are this morning's lucky winner. Congratulations as well to our 21 winners from last evening's draw. The total payout was $9,050. Continue supporting the National Lotteries Authority. Have a great day.
That we can pick up the relevant pointers so that once she has completed her delivery, we can have some key persons here with us to kind of trash out what has been said and how those can be implemented in terms of the benefit of development of country. And important, he mentioned that, we have a number of permanent secretaries and so there. So I guess they're here to sit and listen as well, because they are the ones that actually guide the ministries. And so that we can have smooth execution of some of the plans and programs that will be outlined there by Her Excellency in very short order.
I think the whole resilience question, and it's not just, we kind of touched on it earlier on, the resilience when it comes to issues of our productive sectors are important. Tourism, where does that sit in the context of the overall? And who are the main players? That we're not going to hear that today in that sense, but we definitely know that tourism will have to play a critical role going forward. There's a lot of investment happening in the country now in that particular area, and how the sector is balanced so that Grenadians can enjoy it while the people who are doing the developing, how we can work alongside each other for job creation, for environmental protection. Those kinds of things have to be dovetailed to make sure that we can, at the end of the day, enjoy the benefits of the sector.
Yes, because it is said that tourism is much more than the actual construction of these beautiful hotels and all these things. There are a lot of different components that would have to be looked at to improve the entire product, because some people may come not necessarily to stay indoors.
Correct.
They would want the attraction sites. They'd want to enjoy the nightlife, the cuisine. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of different components that would have to be looked at when we talk the issue of tourism in order to develop that actual product. It's much more than coming just to be on Grandstand speech. We have to fix the package.
Well, I'm very happy that we are on a path to decentralize that tourism products, because in the last decade and a half maybe, the concentration was in a particular area. But now that tourism is spread throughout Grenada with the advent of environmental tourism, where people go into your hinterland, go into your mountains, go into your rainforests. That has become a very important part of the product. Cuisine, you mentioned, that's a really, really important part of the development process. And also the issue of community tourism, where the issues of Airbnb has now become an integral part. So now we're saying we go back to
the chamber.
So let's go to the chamber and monitor what's happening there.
Honorable members, this Honorable House is now back in session.
Pray be seated. Honorable members, we shall now observe a minute of silence in honor of Sir Danny. Pray be seated.
All set.
Madam President, Mr. Speaker, members of Parliament, good morning. As we gather today to mark this third session of the 11th Parliament, I am reminded that the strength of our democracy lies in our collective commitment to work together in the best interest of the citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Today, I stand before you with a great sense of pride and gratitude because despite the challenges of this year, our collective commitment to serve our beloved nation has never been greater. Golden Jubilee. On February the 7th, 2024, our nation marked its 50 years of independence, a defining achievement for our country under the theme, One People, One Journey, One Future, a testament to the strength, resilience, unity, and triumph of our people. This historic milestone was marked by a year-long commemorative celebration of events, projects, programmatic and policy initiatives truly befitting of our Golden Jubilee and which will culminate this month with the St. David's Parish celebrations. Notably, the celebratory activities included the issuance of a 50th Anniversary Independence Commemorative EC $50 note, which is currently in circulation, the declaring of 19th October as a national public holiday in solemn recognition, reflection, and appreciation of the sacrifices of our heroes. The introduction and teaching of Grenadian history in our schools, which began in September of 2023. The publication of a 50th anniversary magazine, which documents the stories of past and present Grenadians who have made significant contributions to our beloved nation. The establishment of the CARICOM Roundabout, which saw the attendance of CARICOM leaders during the recently held 47th meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community. Parish activities culminating in a magnificent National Independence Day parade with a spectacular drone and fireworks show which depicted the creativity of our people, the historic influencers who shaped this nation's destiny, and our iconic landmarks. Hurricane Beryl. But, Madam President, Mr. Speaker, on July the 1st, 2024, the passage of Hurricane Beryl tested the resilience of our people. The hurricane ravished our shores, destroying infrastructure, schools, agriculture, wiping out entire communities in some instances, and disrupting livelihoods in the northern part of Grenada, especially on Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Despite this devastation, we continue to look ahead with a shared sense of duty, determined to meet and overcome the challenges brought to us by Hurricane Beryl. The people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique found solace not only in our shared strength, but also in the overwhelming support received from our fellow countrymen, our citizens in the diaspora, our regional neighbors, and international partners. I place on record our immense gratitude to all our partners and friends throughout the world for their support in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. I also place on record my government's appreciation and gratitude to all first responders, including the NADMA staff, Grenlec and Navassa employees, police and prison officers, healthcare workers, sanitation workers, and the numerous volunteers from Grenada, the Caribbean region and beyond, who selflessly assisted those in need. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, it is in moments of challenge that seeds of progress are sown. My government acted with purpose and determination in preparing for and responding to the impact of Hurricane Beryl. Our citizens were kept fully abreast of the developments before, during, and after the hurricane. Through our National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, we coordinated relief to our affected citizens and conducted initial damage assessments. We have embarked on critical recovery and reconstruction efforts. In this new session of Parliament, we will intensify our rebuilding efforts. Theme, Madam President, Mr. Speaker, together we will embark on a journey to reconstruct, revitalize, and renew our resolve to transform our nation. Our aim is not just to replace lost or damaged social and economic assets, but to build back better and more resilient. With this in mind, we have chosen the theme for this new session of Parliament as unifying our focus towards Vision 75, as we continue to build together a just nation where every citizen has an equal opportunity to realize his or her fullest potential. This theme is deeply rooted in our Vision 2035. Grenada, a resilient and prosperous nation with a conscious and caring citizenry, promoting human dignity and realizing its full potential through sustainable economic, social, and environmental progress for all. As we define our vision for the next 25 years, Vision 75, my government has been committed to laying the strong foundation required to take our people forward, and with God's grace, to creating a better Grenada for all of Grenada. Our nation's recovery will not merely focus on rebuilding what was lost, but laying the foundation for a stronger, more resilient future. Accordingly, in this session of Parliament, my government will focus on rebuilding a more resilient Carriacou and Petit Martinique while advancing government's transformative agenda. Reconstruction and recovery. The path to recovery begins with rebuilding the physical and social infrastructure that has been ravaged. Our homes, schools, hospitals, and businesses must be restored. Our response will focus on restoring critical infrastructure with emphasis on disaster resilience, providing support and initiatives for businesses to reopen and create jobs, continuing to provide support to our citizens impacted by the hurricane. Our reconstruction efforts will be guided by our national building codes and other standards in order to ensure that the new infrastructure is not only restored, but built to withstand future challenges. A comprehensive national recovery plan is being developed with the full engagement of our local, regional, and international partners. These efforts will prioritize the inclusion of local workers and contractors, ensuring that the fruits of this recovery benefit our citizens first and foremost. Education and skills development. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government continues to stress the importance of developing and empowering our people, in particular, our human resources, which constitute our country's greatest asset. Education remains the foundation of our nation's long-term growth and stability. The hurricane severely impacted our schools, but it also revealed the importance of preparing our students and workers for a rapidly changing world. In this new session of Parliament, my government will continue its focus on improving access to education, improving schools' infrastructure, expanding access to digital learning tools to ensure that all students, no matter their circumstance, can continue their education uninterrupted, and enhancing the curriculum with a focus on technical and vocational skills development, equipping our young people with the skills needed for employment across all sectors of our economy, including emerging sectors such as technology and renewable energy. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, through these efforts, we will prepare our youth not only to rebuild our nation, but to lead it into a future of innovation and progress. Health and wellness. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government underscores its commitment to transforming our healthcare system as one of its top priorities, with the goal of making Grenada the health capital of the Eastern Caribbean. At the center of the transformation of the health sector is the new climate-smart medical city with teaching facilities. A key component of this project will be upgrading the existing healthcare service delivery to facilitate smooth transition into the new hospital. The new state-of-the-art facility will increase our capacity to deliver specialized medical care, be equipped with modern technology to ensure quality care, provide a higher standard of patient care. The new hospital project is expected to break ground in 2026. We also know that a significant amount of additional resources, investment, and incentives is required to attract, train, and keep our healthcare professionals, and that this is key to the transformation of the health sector. Government is committed to addressing this issue, and more details of my government's policy on this issue will be enunciated in the upcoming budget, which will be laid before Parliament in due course. Energy transition, environmental sustainability. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government reiterates its commitment to transitioning to green energy and promoting environmental sustainability. In this context, we must ensure that our energy infrastructure is modern, sustainable, and climate resilient. Government is committed to addressing this issue, and more details of my government's policies on this issue will be enunciated in the upcoming budget, which will be laid before Parliament in due course. Housing. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, Hurricane Beryl has exacerbated the housing deficit in our nation. My government remains committed to improving the quality of the housing stock and addressing key deficiency in the housing sector, including to build resilience to natural hazards. Accordingly, to address the housing needs exacerbated by Hurricane Beryl, the government is taking several measures, including Project Build Back Better, Project 500, the grant of tax incentives and waivers to support homeowners who are rebuilding or repairing their homes from the damage caused by Hurricane Beryl, the continuation of the Housing Repair and Assistance Program, the sale and distribution of the affordable housing units built by the government of China, and the use of modern modular housing. Agriculture, food and nutrition security. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, the agriculture and marine sectors, main pillars of our economy, were devastated by the passage of Hurricane Beryl. My government is fully committed to reviving this sector, which is vital for food and nutrition security, employment, and export earnings. The emergency response plan focuses on incoming support to farmers and fisher folk, farm labor support, and farm input support. The recovery plan for the sector will focus on investing in modern farming techniques, sustainable practices and climate resilient crop varieties, revitalizing the marine sector with emphasis on sustainable practices and better marine resource management, supporting the revitalization of the livestock and poultry sectors, building the sector's resilience to climate change, including enhanced insurance coverage. To do that, you'll need to be online. National security. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, the preservation of peace, of public peace and safety remains a major priority for my government. We will continue to pursue policies that discourage crime and antisocial behavior, while at the same time keeping our no-nonsense approach to crime, in particular gun and firearms-related crime. We will continue to support our police and prison officers through the provision of better equipment and upgrading their facilities. My government will also begin the process of prison reform, including the identification of land for and the modeling for a new prison. Legislative agenda. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, In the upcoming session of Parliament, my government will prioritize a legislative agenda focused on fostering economic resilience, advancing social equity, and combating climate change. Some of the key initiatives will include new procurement legislation, energy efficiency legislation, deposit insurance legislation, pension reform legislation. More details of my government's policies, projects, and programs will be enunciated in the upcoming budget, which will be laid before Parliament in due course. Conclusion. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, members of Parliament, my government reaffirms our collective commitment to serve the people with integrity, wisdom, and dedication. In all respects, my government is committed to making and implementing long-term strategic decisions that will be better to future generations of Grenada as it continues its mission to transform Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique with thoughtful decision-making, always mindful of the trust placed in us by those we serve. As we move forward, let us do so with unity of purpose, keeping the well-being of every citizen at the heart of our efforts. We remember the people in Patrick, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique as we continue in our rebuilding of more resilient homes, infrastructure, and the livelihoods of our people. The challenges before us are many, but so are the opportunities to build a future that is more just, prosperous, and inclusive. I urge each of you, as representatives of the people, to approach the tasks that lie ahead with resolve and compassion. Let us commit to working together with diligence and unwavering resolve so that we can realize a better Grenada for all. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, members of Parliament, it is therefore my distinct pleasure to declare the third session of the 11th Parliament open. Thank you, and may God continue to bless us all.
Well, that, Richard, was very precise and to the point. Some may have expected a longer speech, but I realized that it included some of the talking points that we had in terms of reconstruction, the Build Back Better, the health, the energy sector, and so. What do you make of this actual throne speech?
I think it was short, to the point. I think it left room for a lot to be fleshed out. I think it also set the tone for the elements of government's priority going into the next year, and she did mention a lot of the details will be fleshed out in the upcoming budget, which is something that we said earlier on. I also think that it provides an opportunity for us to, a number of times in the speech, you heard the issues related to Hurricane Beryl. The importance of ensuring that we, as a resilient people, we can rebuild from things like these. So climate change, environmental matters will become a major issue going forward. We mentioned the issue of the sargassum as part of that whole conversation, and it's going to be, I think there's an area when she was talking, when the Governor General was talking about agriculture, she was talking about the issue of agriculture and the marine sector as a main pillar of the economy. Again, the reference to Hurricane Beryl. I can tell you, for example, that a number of economic subsectors in agriculture were wiped out by Hurricane Beryl. People in the sea moss industry had a lot of their farms devastated are now in the rebuilding and the replanting process. Talking about an emergency response plan that always has to be present because we are in a zone that is known for that. So I think the recovery plan, looking at investing in modern agricultural techniques, which we mentioned earlier, sustainable practices, and ensuring that we have varieties of crops that are climate resilient, and also looking at the marine sector, revitalization of the marine sector as part of that.
Address delivered today to the Houses by Her Excellency the Governor General. Be it further resolved that the debate on the address be deferred to a date to be named. All those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Honorable members of the Senate, the question is that the honorable Houses of Parliament record their thanks for the gracious address delivered today to the Houses of Parliament by Her Excellency the Governor General. Be it further resolved that the debate on the address be deferred to a date to be named. All those in favor say aye, and those of the opposing view say nay. The ayes have it.
Yes, this is.
Madam President, Mr. Speaker, I beg that this Honorable House be adjourned sine die.
Madam President, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion as presented by the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, Mr. Speaker, I wish to associate the Senate with the sentiment of the motion.
Madam President, Mr. Speaker, I wish to second the motion as made by the Leader of Government Business in the Senate.
Honorable members of the House of Representatives, the question is that the House be adjourned sine die. All those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Honorable members of the Senate, the question is that the Senate be adjourned sine die. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. So You adjourn.
This honorable house is now adjourned. Sign it aye.
So what we've just witnessed there is the adjournment of the House, and prior to that, we were speaking to some of the critical areas that came through in the actual throne speech. During our deliberations, we made mention that we expected to hear agriculture and health, and so we mentioned a bit about national security, the legislative agenda, the Build Back Better, the housing, and I think part of the important pointers that came out there is the fact that the standard of construction.
Yes, I think they're particularly looking at rebuilding in a way that caters for any further storms, the passage of storms or hurricanes, given their frequencies that was not an issue for us. After 1955, we did not have to worry about for a long period. Now,
until 2004.
And now from 2004, we're now seeing an increase in the occurrence of that. And therefore, we have to pay attention to the standards by which we build.
And we spoke a bit to energy transition and the whole issue of the fossil fuel and moving into renewable energy and so on. We saw that too came as part of the content within the actual throne speech. I know that, well, we saw what happened. We still have to revert to Beryl again because we saw what happened in Carriacou. That plant, the devastation to that actual plant, so it has to be revisited. It is something that government is placing emphasis on, our healthcare. And interestingly so, it is said that the aim is to make it the best in the region.
Yes.
So I think that will take a lot of doing.
Well, health tourism has always been aspirational for us. Just how we achieve it is going to be a different issue. And the fact is that and it's not just the issue of building a new hospital, because if just building a new hospital and having the same issues will actually keep us with a new building but the same old operational standards. So we have to actually look at a way to do that, to build a new building but also to improve the service offered and the services that are offered in the context of this new building. So I'm very happy that the throne speech announced the groundbreaking in 2026. But of course we know that a lot of groundwork is now taking place so that we can get to that, to ensure that when we build, that the process for improving the health service is also there. So I compliment the government on that.
Education and skills development. Skills development has been on the front burner in terms of pronouncements made by this administration from taking up office. And we see, as you mentioned, some of the pointers will be recurrent. And
yes.
We've seen that in terms of education and skills development. Emphasis was placed in terms of the Team Maestro Community College, the New Life organization, and so we should look forward to see greater action taken in terms of these areas, because a lot of our students graduate from schools. You have the academic achievement, but practically the skills. We actually lack in that aspect of things.
Well, that is both a Grenadian function and a Caribbean function. The Caribbean is now looking at the relevance of the education system to employment. So after students leave school, how do they fit into the workplace? How do they adapt to the workplace? What skill sets do they bring to the workplace? In the whole process of getting people qualified, those areas that they qualified in, what role do they play in the development of our countries? So those are some of the things that education has to look at. Agencies like the National Training Agency must come into play in the context of even the government's decision to last month or month before, the passage of the bill in the House that says that if you're between 16 and 18, you should continue your schooling in some form until age 18. That is also part of the process, because at the end of the day, if you're looking at development in construction or in tourism, whatever the areas you're looking at, if you're looking at Grenadians to take advantage of those opportunities, you have to prepare them for those opportunities. And it's important that we look holistically at how we prepare our young people, how we prepare our students for the workplace, not just their skill set, but their mentality, their attitude to work, those kinds of things, if we are to rebuild properly our nation.
Food and nutrition security.
Big one, because it impacts on the health sector. I remember when right after the elections, there was a context of helping us to try to reduce the amount of sugar in the diet. Not a lot has been said about that since, but I think it's really important that we look at that dietary issue. In fact, the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council must have a significant role to play in education, one, but also utilizing local produce to do some of the things that we import.
That's right.
So, for example, I mean, one of the conversations that the GFNC had earlier this year, there was a training session up at Maribor. And there was, I believe he was a Cuban person working with the organization. And they provided a taste of sweet potatoes as I think it was chips at the time. And that was just fantastic.
They literally serve sweet potato chips in a number of the
local restaurants
the
and hotels.
Yes. And when I tell you sweet potato chips is sweet potato chips.
Oh yes, and from what the doctors are saying, the glycemic impact on sweet potatoes is different from that used in other potatoes, white potatoes, for example.
Yes, because you get a better sugars from the sweet potatoes than the what we call the Irish potatoes.
So white potatoes, because I think there's also an attempt now to try white potatoes growing in Grenada and in the Caribbean. I think Jamaica has experimented, Dominica has experimented, and Grenada is doing some experiments as well with that. So that's issue of not just food security, but ensuring that we utilize what we have for our begin to stimulate our production sector, but also that the Food and Nutrition Council be put in a place where they can do the education, but also the practical experience of using local to supplement our diets, yes.
And importantly so, the investing in modern farming techniques, because we often hear that most of our farmers are aged. We do have some young ones, but I think with innovation, it may encourage younger persons who want to get into the farming industry to do so faster.
Well, yeah,
that we're seeing now. So we need to get more investment in terms of innovation, giving them a voice in terms of doing things that would, it's traditional is good, but sometimes you have to set it aside a bit to let them find their way in terms of how they will like to do it.
Well, you say traditional is good, and I will add to that, traditional is not enough.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, there are so many opportunities in the agricultural sector that I don't think we've paid attention to. So, for example, there are agencies that give us small tillers and mechanized equipment for the farms, sprayers, etc., etc. But who are the persons trained in repairing them? Who are the persons trained in ensuring that they maintain properly, etc.? Or do we just, when something happens, we just push it aside and say, no, well, that can't happen, and we move on to something else? So there's other opportunities in the agricultural sector that we need to look at to keep the sector sustainable, not just from producing food perspective, but keeping the farmer in a place where he just does not have to depend on the fork and the spade. Right, so I think those are some of the things, the innovations that we need, and ensuring that we bring our young people into that, so that agriculture is not just seen as getting dirty and stained up, but it's actually seen as a valuable input in keeping our nation moving in a certain direction.
And if we go back a bit to that very important project, Build Back Better, and Project 500, those are areas that have been on the actual front burner. We're hearing a lot about it now. We mentioned about building back to resist certain strengths of hurricanes and earthquakes and natural disasters and so. The focus on it though. How much do you think will have to go into it to actually make it a reality? We're seeing some of the construction taking place now based on what has transpired as a result of Beryl and so.
Right.
But something more will have to be done.
Well, listen, I mean, in terms of housing, I think there's a role for government, there's a role for private sector, but there's a role for you and me as well. Unfortunately, we saw during Hurricane Ivan, in the recovery process, we saw a lot of and heard of a lot of shady practices happening. The regulation of that needs to be strong. Whether it's from the planning department, from the Ministry of Works, whatever that agency is, or that regulation looks like, it's important that people pay attention to building codes. Because at the end of the day, we all suffer. When your house gets damaged in the community, you have to go look for somebody else to shelter at. So it's important for individuals to pay that input, but also important from a national perspective for government regulation to kick in.
So I think more sensitization and in terms of the building code and standards and the name is slipping me. Those who come and test to ensure that you're within stipulations. And
Yes. Your planning department, your regulators, really, really very important. And it's important as well for us to recognize that we don't need to fight with these people. I see people building stuff that is very compromising to public safety and so on. And when the planning department comes and speaks to you, fight. You say, well, this is my land and all that, without recognizing that you have a responsibility to your neighbor to make sure that you do things properly. Because when something happens and you're affected, they are also affected. So it's important for that understanding that is not just about me, it's about all of us in the community together.
Viewers, you're watching our dialogue here as it results to the official opening of the 11th session, the third session of the 11th Parliament. We're just going to take a quick break and return with a couple guests to be interviewed. So just bear with us, we'll be back in very short order.
wondered how Grenada can reduce its food import bill? What steps are we taking towards self-sufficiency? Join us this Monday on Beyond the Headlines as we dive deep into Grenada's ambitious plan for food self-sufficiency. What challenges do we face in achieving this goal? What innovations are on the horizon? Don't miss this enlightening discussion that impacts us all. Tune in to Beyond the Headlines this Monday at 8:30 p.m. Your questions matter. Join the conversation by calling 440-1252. Let's explore the future of food in Grenada together. Beyond the Headlines, 8:30 p.m. on Monday. GBN is your home for this year's Republic Bank CPL. Please note there will be adjustments to our programming lineup on Tuesday, October 1st, Wednesday, October 2nd, and Friday, October 4th. Transitions will air at 5:05 p.m., followed by GBN television news at 6 p.m. And don't miss the news repeat right after the CPL match. Transitions will also be rebroadcast after the news repeat, so you won't miss a thing. GBN, bringing you sports coverage anywhere and everywhere. Have you ever... And welcome back. We're still here at the Houses of Parliament, and joining us now we have the Minister for Carriacou and Petimatic Affairs and Local Government, the Honourable Tevin Andrews, and he's here with us this morning. We know we just heard the delivery of the throne speech. A lot was mentioned about the ravages of Hurricane Beryl, the Building Back Better, and so we decided to invite him in on the set to tell us, just give us an overview and update as to how are things on the Sister Isle of Carriacou and Petimatic in terms of the Build Back Better initiative, getting everybody back to some semblance of normalcy.
Yeah, it's 3 months and a few days since the passage of Hurricane Beryl, which devastated the islands of Carriacou and Petimatic. Significant progress has been made in Carriacou and Petimatic. Really clean up. So it's Project Pristine, we call it. It's really to clean up our coastal areas and of course the whole islands. So it's been a challenging time for the people of Carriacou and Petit-Matic, but certainly progress has been made. Government buildings, the people's building as I term it, our hospital, our revenue office, our police station and courthouse, and even private homes, all of that, work is being done. In some cases it's completed. I know that the finishing touch is now being done on our hospital. So very soon our lone hospital will be fully operational. The schools are now reopened in Carriacou. I mean, think about it. Devastating hurricane category 4, almost to the verge of turning a category 5. 95 or 98% of the island's housing stock is damaged, and 3 months after we've made such progress, it means that God is on our side, and we the housing and improving our housing stock, but you see, it's not only improving the housing stock and building back our house and so on, but doing it better and more resilient. So we must have systems in place, and in order for the systems to be in place, you must strategize, and you need time to set it up so that it can be beneficial to the people of Carriacou and Petit-Matic. But notwithstanding that, significant assistance has already been given. So housing assistance, roofing assistance has been given to a number of people in Carriacou and Petit-Matic. I know a shipment of building materials for roofs will be heading to Petit-Matic very soon. And of course, this is being supervised by the planning authority, because you don't want a case where people are just going and do things just vike in a way, ensuring that if government is going to be spending millions of dollars on building back better, as we term it, you have to ensure that planning authority is supervising every aspect of the rebuilding and the repairs, that in the event that we have anything catastrophic like this, or anything, any hurricane at all, we can withstand, and at least if we should not suffer this level of damage again. Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about the economic turnaround of the island, because at the end of the day, you're doing the housing and so on. What about the livelihoods of people, the stores reopening, etc.? Tell me about that, and what's the plan for that?
Certainly. So stores are opening. There's lots of work on the island of Carriacou and Petit-Matic with all that's happening. Still have a little bit of concern about the economy though, because the businesses took a real hard hit. What government has done is to work along with the GDP. We've budgeted $25 million in the supplemental budget, which we put into the GDP. Grant part loan. GDP finally start operating in Carriacou on Monday gone. So business owners are going into GDB to access those grants and loans so that they can reconstruct or restock and to get their businesses up and running, be it in the hotel and tourism sector, be it the supermarkets, guest houses, hotel, whatever you, so they can get their business up and running. So we recognize that we have a challenge with our economy, that's in the livelihoods. People's livelihoods are impacted, but this is how we responded, by making those funds available. Mind you, this $25 million, which is part grant, part loan, is concessional loan, meaning it's 1% interest payback. So this is our government's response, and we're not only just talking that we are concerned about the economy, but we're also demonstrating by putting our money where our mouth is towards the people of Carriacou and Petit-Matic. And we set up the GDB, the planning authority, and the best secretariat in one location. So when the business owners go to the GDB and their loans are approved, one-stop shop. Okay. You go to the planning authority, you approve, to ensure that everything is fine, and of course, planning authority will guide the process as well. And the best office is there to support and to give guidance and so on as well. So It took some time, 3 months in some instances, but within that time frame, a lot of work was being done behind the scenes. Now, as you heard the Governor General at the throne speech, talking about some of the projects that will be unrolling as it relates to housing and so on, a lot of work is being done behind the scenes, preparing accommodations for builders that will be coming in regionally to assist with the rebuilding efforts, because recognizing we have a serious manpower shortage. But we not only have a serious manpower shortage, we have a serious building material shortage. Okay. Because I can tell you, we approved a couple $1 million building materials, water building materials, but the hardwares just don't have it. They just don't have it. So that's a challenge that we are facing. And apart from that, Carriacou people we are resilient people. There are people on the island who have taken it up on their own, working along, of course, with the government and planning authority and so on, and the best office, and are taking advantage of the tax relief and the concessions on building materials which they import, and are going ahead to rebuild. So it's not just the government that is that the demand from the hardware is not just on the government, but also the private people who are doing their thing. So I know. So we calling on the hardwares to step up the thing. But nonetheless, I believe as time goes by and as the budget is prepared and read, you would hear more in terms of what we are going to do as it relates to the manpower shortage, getting regional support, and building material shortage, and how we're going to work with the region to get building materials in to assist with what's happening. So I know that people want things to happen now. I could understand. I understand, but good, you have to plan, and you have to put systems and structures in place which will benefit the people. You can't just be doing things all all over the place like that.
Minister, I'm happy that you mentioned the fact that regional support. If you can just go back a bit and speak to the importance of regional support in terms of the assistance given thus far to the people. I see Grenada by extension, Missouri and Carriacou and Petit Martinique. We talk the Defense Force from Guyana. I'm not sure if they're still on the island.
They're still on the island.
You have the electricity services from
Lucilec, Domlec. So most of them have gone back. So I think we're working with our local men from Grenada and Carriacou. But the regional support has been amazing. And we could start with the government of Guyana. Yeah. The government of Guyana didn't just provide water, black tanks, food stuff, and so on. They also gave manpower by getting trained men in the defense force, carpenters, skilled men, artisan force, skilled men to come and assist us. So things like our schools, some of the schools, like one of the schools that they're living in, which is Hillsborough Secondary. Or the people's building, like the revenue office and other buildings, ministry buildings and so on, they've been placing a lot of emphasis on working on those buildings to get them back up and running in record-breaking time. As a matter of fact, the Guyanese team was here mere weeks after. Well, a team was here days after burial, and the troops came in later. So I commend the government and people of Guyana, in particular the President Ali, who also paid a visit to Carriacou and gave commitment as it relates to assisting us in replanting of our mangrove, because our mangrove got a lot of beating. A lot of mangroves have died, and of course you would understand the importance the mangrove play within our ecosystem. So certainly the regional support has been amazing. Commend the regional unity and strength. It shows that and your friends when you're in need, in a disaster. So Trinidad, St. Vincent, everybody has been assisting in one way or the other. But I thought it was important to mention the government and people of Guyana because of what they've done, and the mere fact that the Defense Force is still on island assisting in many ways. And I want to put on record my thanks to kayaks who have given up their homes to assist in accommodating some of the volunteers. So for example, Ms. Gillian Bristol, who is the chairman of the Integrity Commission, she gave up her cottage on island so that some of the high-ranking officers in the Defense Force can stay there. Nazim Burke former Minister of Finance, he and his family, his mom's home on the island, give up his home as well, so that can also happen, you know, so the volunteers can say this. So publicly, I want to say thank you to Honorable Nazim Buck and his family, and Madam Chairman Gillian Bristol and her family for the sacrifice and contribution that they are making towards the people of Carriacou and Petit-Martinique. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a walk in the park.
Right. And that was my next question. How are you managing expectation? Because expectation can really be a difficult one.
Can you really manage expectation?
I'm asking you.
And I'm learning that more and more as a young, fresh politician. Really and truly, you can't manage expectation. There's only so much you can do. This is also a lesson. And I say, Lord God, I just got get involved in politics. You give me this big burden, just like that. I mean, I'm fresh out from the block, and here am I. And it's not like your colleagues and comrades are right next to you when you need them. You have to travel overseas. It sometimes feels lonely. It was already lonely, and it's now even lonelier.
But they visited you.
But mind you, the support that I've been getting from Prime Minister and the cabinet is second to none. I mean, it's really heartwarming with the support that we've been getting, and everyone and all of his regional partners or international partners that come to visit, he insists that they come to Carriacou, like President Ali. You had a few prime ministers in the region, and so on. And everywhere he goes, he mentioned Carriacou and Petit-Martinique, and he continues to make an appeal for more support for Carriacou and Petit-Martinique. So I appreciate all the support. Every member of Parliament, every member of cabinet, every minister been pushing, be it health, education, infrastructure. Everybody been playing their part, and they know that I'm an aggressive person, so they ensure that the people of Carriacou and Petit-Martinique gets it. But we also have to recognize that this is not a walk in the park. It's going to take some time. It requires time. Mm-hmm. It's a process, but we are going to get there, and no one will be left behind. Well, with patience and time, you'll be amazed with what we'll be able to accomplish. And in 3 months, what we were able to accomplish in 3 months, I think it's nothing short of a miracle.
Thank you.
Well, Minister, thank you so much.
And all the programs and projects which we that were on stream will continue. The night landing facilities to accommodate night landing at the Lawrence Airport, the renaming of the Lawrence Airport to the H.A. Blaise Airport, the underwater sculpture park, the continuation of building of roads and other infrastructure, and all other things that we promised the people of Carriacou and Petit-Martinique. Yes, in some cases it might have been pushed back, delays, because of course, the hurricane. Yes. But we are committed to get those things done. And I commend the government for its action, the support for students, the CHAM-CC and NULO students. That support, it's a major support. It may look simple. Just think about you in Carriacou lost everything, and you now don't want your child to don't miss out on the academic journey. And the fact that we made that commitment is a big deal for the people of Carriacou and Petit-Martinique. And I commend the Ministry of Education and the government and the cabinet for making that decision. But I honestly said, I said I didn't have much to say, but that's a problem.
He said you want to jump out.
And I could go on and on.
But the information is good, though.
So I want to thank you, and I look forward to another setting where we'll be able to discuss more of the progress in Carriacou and Petit-Martinique.
Look forward to that.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, viewers. That was our Minister for Carriacou and Petit-Martinique Affairs, the Honorable Tevin Andrews. We take a quick break. We'll be back with much more.
how Grenada can reduce its food import bill? What steps are we taking towards self-sufficiency? Join us this Monday on Beyond the Headlines as we dive deep into Grenada's ambitious plan for food self-sufficiency. What challenges do we face in achieving this goal? What innovations are on the horizon? Don't miss this enlightening discussion that impacts us all. Tune in to Beyond the Headlines this Monday at 8:30 p.m. Your questions matter. Join the conversation by calling 440-1252. Let's explore the future of food in Grenada together. Beyond the Headlines, 8:30 p.m. on Monday. GBN is your home for this year's Republic Bank CPL. Please note there will be adjustments to our programming lineup on Tuesday, October 1st, Wednesday, October 2nd, and Friday, October 4th. Transitions will air at 5:05 p.m.
Welcome back. This is the Government Information Service, and we're still here at the ceremonial state opening of Parliament, the third session of the 11th Parliament, and we are discussing Grenada's development, and from the perspective of what we just heard from the throne speech, we have with us the Minister of Finance. At the moment, it's good to see you, sir. Good morning. Good morning. Give us your first off-the-cuff response to what we heard this morning from the throne speech, and how you see your agency, your ministry managing through the economics of the whole process that we're talking about today.
Well, let me first congratulate the Governor General for delivering the throne speech at this very juncture. I believe that in the throne speech she would have summarized some of the major things that our government will be moving forward swiftly to implement over the next 2 or 3 years. Because again, policy decision does not actually last for one budget. It goes on beyond one budget. And so I think she would have enunciated some of the key issues in there regarding the way forward for our government. To include, for example, the new teaching officer that we are going to be doing. She would have actually talked about the health village that we are trying to develop in the West Hall, Calvin area. That will not only talk about a building per se, but to also incorporate all that is ongoing right now to see construction of that facility not too distant future. We also talk about readdressing the issues of the current health sector that we have in Grenada. We always hear the complaint that things are bad in the hospital and the clinics out there. And we are trying to make sure that while we are doing the new hospital, that we make sure that we arrest the problems that we have in those facilities. Again, we talk about the TVEC situation where we'll be trying to get most of our youth involved in training to bring them up to speed to have us where we want to be. We also talk about making sure that agriculture is also part of what we are trying to bring on forth. We need to maintain our food security in the country. And by taking steps to basically train our young people in farming with new technology and everything, could take us where we want to be. The other areas in education that needs attention, for example, the rebuilding of some of the schools and regular maintenance of the schools to make sure that these facilities remain intact for a long time to come. So I believe that we're on the right track. You would recall that in the throne speech also she would have actually announced that The budget will be delivered at some point in time. I do not want to basically jump the gun and announce a date as yet, but I can tell you as we speak, there's a lot of effort going on right now to make sure that we take our time and to put all the policy measures in place to ensure that we have a budget that will lead us over the next 2-3 years. Again, our budget should be a 3-year cycle more or less, whereby we undertake a project that will probably go on for 3 years. And so whatever decision we take in this particular budget this coming year should continue over the next couple of years. So I believe that we're on the right track, and we need to at least do all that we need to do to make sure that happens. In other words, we have to engage our stakeholders, even from the grassroots level. That is our constituency or villages and so on, to make sure that we don't use a top-down approach on what they want, but use a top-up approach. In other words, we build our budget based on what our people on the ground want, rather than just imposing on them any budget that probably one would like to see from the top.
Okay.
In you being the Minister of Finance, the economic space, in terms of what has been presented through the throne speech, which is basically a guide as to what government expects, what does our economic space allow us for at this time?
Well, coming from the Hurricane Beryl, a disaster that sort of crippled the north of Grenada, including Carriacou and Petit-Martinique, we have to continue what we would have actually started in terms of putting things in place so we can put back St. Patrick, Carriacou, Petit-Martinique, areas of St. Mark's and St. Andrews. We have concentrated heavily on housing and agriculture because we have to maintain the idea that we have to ensure that we can feed ourselves in the next couple of months and years ahead. And so the recent payout that was made by government to the farmers, the fisher folks, persons involved in the CMOS business and others, we need to make sure that we can have those people back on track. I am not saying that the funds that we provided with them or that we are providing to them will resolve every problem they have, because we cannot give anybody the notion that we are replacing what they would have lost in its entirety. It's impractical to believe that. But we believe that whatever we give them, they would put back some of that resources into the farms, into the fishing equipment and gears, the boats and everything, so that we can continue to get the input so that we can feed ourselves in Grenada. I believe also that there are other areas that we need to continue doing, like the housing sector. We have started the Build Back Better housing, as well as we have talked about the Project 500 in housing. We also continue doing the house repair programs and so on. One of the things I want to say, and I've said it before I think, is that while we are building back houses, and while we are saying that government is making an input into that sector, the populace should not expect that government will be able to provide them with a free house. There is no such thing. So whether or not we build back better under the programs that we have, we do the Project 500, somewhere along the line, we will have persons to pay for their accommodation. Now, I wouldn't tell you that one size fits all, but if somebody has the wherewithal to build back their home or to at least contribute towards the accommodation or livelihood, government should not be called upon to give everybody a free house in Grenada. It's impractical. That's not possible. And so those up there who is pushing that agenda, I say to you now and again, government cannot build back a free house for everybody.
And thank you so much. That was the Minister for Finance, the Honorable Dennis Cornwall. We take a quick break because up next we have the Minister for Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, the Honorable Andy Williams.
Welcome back. Well, now we have with us the Honorable Andy Williams. He is the Minister for Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation. We've just heard the delivery of the throne speech, and there are several components of that fits directly into his portfolio. So we want to talk about the elements of Build Back Better, Project 500, the whole housing program of the government, and how what we've heard in the throne speech, how you see that being fleshed out.
Well, let me just start by saying good morning to the listeners, and it's a pleasure to be here in this room with you. And we have a housing problem in Grenada, a situation when it comes to housing. It's a case where you have a lot of houses that are dilapidated, number one. And number two, sometimes even as the MP for the South, sometimes because the crowd moved down to the South, it's kind of overpopulated and housing is an issue. The government have several housing programs which we will be putting together to have one policy going forward.
Right. So just before you go on, I just want to be clear that you're not the Minister of Housing.
No.
But you do have significant impact in the implementation process.
Right,
so,
exactly. So the first program we have on the housing, we have a housing assistance program in the Ministry of Social Development. And that is where we assist folks who cannot afford to really do the repairs on the house, and we will come in and we will assist them in that way. Also, there are some people who houses and so that are really bad, and what they need is an assistance to even build back. So we have a program in the Ministry of Social Development where we will assist them in building back process. They have to pay a fee for that. Right. Good. Also, we have the project Build Back Better, which is aimed to assist people who got affected by Hurricane Beryl, who does not have insurance and where there's a problem to really build back. So we assist in the building back process, and in doing so, we thought that it was necessary to build back in a more resilient manner, and that's where you have Project Build Back Better with a concrete frame, and you have the wooden cover and so around. So it looks like a board, but it's really concrete frame on the inside, and it's really resilient with a parapet roof and so. Then we have Project 500. Project 500 is a project where we aim to build some Grenadian-style affordable houses. And in doing so, we will be building it in a community, in clusters, and also in a more affordable manner than the normal conventional way of construction. Project 500, the difference here is that one of the highest costs in construction is labor. And if we can eliminate the time it takes to build a house, it means that we are eliminating the highest costs in the construction of the house. And that's what Project 500 is aiming to do, where you can build a house basically in a day or two. You can have a complete house being constructed, and it's by using modern methods. Now, the idea of these three things that I spoke about is that we will be grouping these, and we will explain to people how they fit into the housing supply that we have, so they can know exactly what is their budget, right, and how they can make use of it. So we will be meeting to really have one policy in place for everything, but we are really determined to improve the housing stock in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And according to the throne speech, it says just that. So you can look out for next year for us making a big dent in Project 500. We have started to make a dent already in Project Build Back Better, and the Housing Assistance Program is one that has been there for a long time, and we are just continuing with it. But we are doing it with a difference where we will look to add painting, plumbing, and so and energy, the electricity to the house. So when someone goes into the house, they can live in it. Yeah.
In terms of implementation rate, I know you're big on that, ensure when projects are announced and the normal paperwork and everything is in place, that we have an implementation rate. You've already started to assist in terms of the Build Back Better, not really Build Back Better, but some of the housing programs. But can you speak to us in terms of the implementation rate? How is that going?
Well, implementation, we have been, the last year, we have been really working hard on increasing the implementation rate in terms of projects overall. Right? It's always a challenge when you're dealing with the public sector because there are certain rules and regulations that is there. There are certain processes that you must follow, like the procurement process, the evaluation process. So you may want to move fast, but you just have to wait certain times on certain things. But what we have been doing, we have been working with the different ministries, for example, Ministry of Economic Development, and we have seen some projects that was slow, like the UBEC project that was slow, and implementation has drastically increased. We are looking to really ramp up implementation of that project by December, and it's a $10 million project, a project that will help farmers, fisher folks, and so in general. And we have already seen how much assistance they have been getting. The only reason why I follow that project is because there's not much PR. So some people might say there's not much happening in agriculture. I can tell you there's a lot happening. You have upgrade of chillers and so, of cold room, of ice machines, of manuals, fertilizers, all these things for farmers. And we will be hiring a PR strategist to really enlighten the public on what is happening. We have the GRIP project. The GRIP project is a project that you will see some work being done on the Balthazar Bridge, right? Yeah, some of the coastal areas in Marquis and Subies and so will be addressed. That project is a project that has had a slow implementation rate, but as we speak now, everything is up to mark, and we are seeing movements in that. We have the OECS tourism project, a project that was on the book since 2017. No movement was made. Now, we had a delay in that project. The delay that we had in that project is that we have to move the police headquarters from the fort. But because there was a delay in moving it from the fort to the carnage, the project is on hold until the police headquarters is moved, because we cannot go further unless it's moved. Yes. So once it's moved, then you will see some more movements again happening on that project.
And the work is being completed for the movement at the new headquarters
on the carnage. Yes. So we have been working, our ministry has been working. It has some projects that, we thought it would have been best to really put it on MIT so we can boost implementation for ourselves. And we have done that. The cabinet has given us a lot of support in that area. So compared to previous years, we are seeing massive movements in implementation, but not just in implementation of projects in terms of World Bank and so projects, but even the local projects, the Build Back Better. We have given ourselves a strict timeline to complete that project, and every day I have officers in my ministry, mobilization officers, project managers going out, meeting with the people, conversing, seeing their needs. If their situation is a level 1 situation in terms of level 1 meaning after the hurricane, it's the least impactful, and so level 4 meaning that you got most impacted where probably your house would have been flattened. Right. So we have implementation officers, project officers going on the other side, meeting with the people, assessing the situation, and we are seeing how fast we can get these people back to a place of normalcy when it comes to the building back process. So it's a challenge, but we are up to the task, and MIT is a ministry that gets things moving.
Thank you so much. And that was the Minister for Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, the Honorable Andy Williams. We take a brief break. When we come back, we'll have our final guest, which will be the Prime Minister, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell. We'll be right back.
we are including new inclusive assessment strategies, new just everything that you could think about that is new, that is relevant for teachers to learn. These days we are having that in the curriculum. So you no longer have to go to a book and turn pages. You click a button and you get access to the curriculum. Not just for teachers anymore, children get access, parents, everybody involved in this education thing becomes easier for them. So we cater for everybody as we digitize this curriculum. So you get, for example, an inclusive assessment strategy that was not there before. Things that teachers can go to help each child at any level, to cater for each child. You can access that child's learning, so you'd find that there.
Well, one, it will be more colorful, so it will be more appealing. There will be more inclusive strategies and interactive. It will cater for all different learning styles.
When you say inclusive strategies, give me an example.
Well, the strategies, if you've been in a classroom I guess we all were in classroom, and I know it was a lot of talk and chalk, right? So now you would get them to go out and do performance-based stuff. So they would do projects, they would go and make stuff, they would write in their journal. Even though it's mathematics, they could write in their journal. Okay. And it is culturally oriented, so there are things that in the environment they could identify with. If you have a child that cannot read well, we will not just judge them by that, but they will still be able to perform well because of the inclusive assessment strategies.
Welcome back to our live broadcast here from the Houses of Parliament. It's the ceremonial state opening of the third session of the 11th Parliament of Grenada. We did mention to you prior to the break that we'd have a final guest, which we're expected to be the Honourable Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell. However, he is engaged at the moment, so we'd use this time just to recap what has happened today before we end the broadcast. We did hear a lot said in terms of, through the throne speech, in terms of health, education, housing, in terms of recovery, agriculture, energy, and security. And all those are areas that will chart the way forward as to what government expects to do. And I think it is what will set the tone for what is to come in a more detailed format in the estimates of revenue and expenditure. Richard, your overall views on what transpired today. We started off with what we thought was a beautiful day in terms of the sunshine, but however, we got some blessings in between. The throne speech, I know sometimes we expect a certain timing, but it was short, precise, to the point. We saw a number of dignitaries here, members of both the upper and the lower houses of Parliament. The Governor General, she delivered, and now it's our time to say goodbye, but you can just give us your view on what you thought of what transpired here today.
Well, I think the throne speech outlined what we opened the program with, the government's priorities. We did hear, I was excited to hear from the Minister from Carriacou and Petit-Martinique and the recovery efforts in Carriacou.
He was very detailed.
I suspect from what he said that he has his hands on the pulse. He was very expressive about the people who have made their own sacrifices to assist the people of Carriacou and Petit-Martinique and others as well regionally, particularly Guyana, because that strengthens the position on regionalism, that we're not just there when times are good, but when times are bad, we can step in and help each other. Even in our limited resources, we can still share. So so I was excited to hear that. But also too from the Minister of Finance, how all these thoughts on paper manifest into real activity come budget time, and how it's going to be financed as well. And of course from MIT, the implementation side, because one of the things we've struggled with in Grenada over the years is implementation. Nice projects, nice plans, but
getting them off the ground.
Implementation. Yeah, how do we get them to benefit people? So I'm happy as well to have heard from him that the government's focus is not just on having the plans, but getting them actually operational. And I was also excited by Mr. Minister of Finance saying that he's thinking not just in a one-year cycle, but in a three-year cycle. Which is good, because again it lends itself to continuity and sustainability. So yes, I think today was a very good day. Again, as we end, we'd like to express our sympathies to the former Governor General Sodani, who passed recently, to his family, and to all those who came into contact with him. I've known him for a long time personally, and he's been a wonderful person. And we definitely want to recognize the contribution that he's made to Grenada. So from that perspective, I think it was a very productive day for us here, and I look forward to hopefully doing this again sometime in the future.
Thank you so much, Richard, and it was indeed a pleasure sharing the platform here with you, giving the viewing audience the necessary information and extracting from the ministers that came on set, they feel and so about what was delivered in the throne speech. Viewers, before we leave, I'd like to say a special thanks to the entire Government Information Service team who has been here, ensuring that you hear and see all that's happening. And we say thank you to the viewers online, to the other members of the media who chimed in via our social media platforms. We say thank you. So until next time, this is where we close our live broadcast of the ceremonial state opening of the third session of the 11th Parliament. I am Sherry Ann Noel, thanking you so much for joining us.